Superstar podcast. Kissa is a women-centric brand, and this is officially our season 2.
I'm Sabah.
I'm Shameen.
And today we have a very special guest for you as a first episode of season 2. She's a chef, not just a chef, but an award-winning chef, an investor, and so much more, a partner in Bar Mordecai. And we'll find out what that is. So welcome, Suman Ali Sayed.
Welcome, Suman.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for having me on the show. I've been watching so much of your content and I'm so excited to be on this.
We are very proud and excited to have you.
Welcome. We're so excited to learn about all the things we've read in your profile that we don't understand.
Okay.
Yeah. So first of all, tell us, what is Bar Mordecai?
So Bar Mordecai is my culinary partnership restaurant in Toronto. For the past 4 years, it's been part of the 50 best concepts in North America. I've been a partner for over a year now, and the kind of food that I do over there is Canadian Khaleeji fusion. So you're talking about, let's say, something that looks like a chicken kofta, you have a garlic toom on top, and then you have these really nice colorful fryams. Do you know what a fryam is?
No.
So you know what popper is, right?
I know
Yes,
what popper
yeah. So popper is like the flat one. Fryams are the colorful ones. So when you take a bite of the food, it's going to taste like a combination of Middle Eastern, South Asian, and Canadian together.
I wish we had some fryams right now.
I know.
Okay.
So now this whole Khaleeji thing is in your fusion, in your food. And of course that means you're from Bahrain and you have this essence that you grew up with. Tell us a bit about your childhood, how this all started, where you're exactly from, and we'd like to know about your journey.
And why food?
Why food?
Why food? So obviously, like, my childhood has been Rifa Shari, which is East Rifa. I come from a very humble background. My parents were, working class people. My mom's a retired teacher. My father was a policeman. And, growing up with 4 older brothers. So again, I was very tomboyish and everything. Not that people need to know that. But a lot of, I think my childhood circled around having education and academic and, the zest of life of working hard as the main fundamental values. And I guess food was one of those topics food was very centric to have our family together. So regardless of how busy our parents were with, the jobs and everything they were doing, or with our school and everything else, when it came down to having lunch and dinner together, my mom would cook it. My father would probably help with, cutting.
So is that where the inspiration came?
Yeah.
The family, the unit?
Totally. Because when you sit down and eat food together as a family, I think it just blooms more love. Yeah. And I was probably 12, 13 years old. I knew this is the industry that I wanted to get in. How? That was a whole another, journey on its own. But I think I'm really blessed because a lot of people don't realize up to quite a point of time in their life that what kind of passions do they have. So I think I was really blessed to know what the pursuit of my life was about.
Some of us are still trying to figure it out.
Okay.
So you're very young,
Yes.
and you're a young person who's achieved so much, and that makes us very proud of you.
Well, the way how I see it, there's still so much more to do.
Of course, there is.
And I think the moment if someone starts thinking that I've done it all, I think that's the decline of everything else.
No, of course there is, and I'm sure there's much more success
Inshallah,
to come,
yes.
inshallah.
Inshallah.
But where did it start? Where did you get an education for this?
So when I finished my high school from the Indian school in Bahrain, at that point my major was in marketing, so I was a scholar student.
Oh, okay.
I actually topped, got an 100 on 100 in the CBSE
Wow.
curriculum. So that was fun, and given that I was excelling academically, so with regards to my culinary journey, when I finished my high school, at that point of time in Bahrain, we didn't have any culinary or hospitality institutes. So my best option was either to put my dreams and pursuits of becoming a chef on the back burner and probably pursue marketing or banking, which obviously also was my major from high school. However, I guess I'm very stubborn, and I think that's something I get from my parents, I guess.
I think let's call it determined
and stubborn. I think the right word is stubborn.
Okay.
Determination is one thing, but if you're stubborn enough, then
you need to go get that. Yes.
You need to have that go-getter part in your life as well, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up, being able to work 15 minutes away from where I was living in Rifa at the golf club in Bahrain. and they offered me a job to work as a Commie 4, which is like the entry level position.
Okay.
So regardless of not having any background or
without any experience, education.
So I started off working, peeling potatoes, making cafeteria sandwiches and all that. I guess that definitely was a difficult time period because I saw a lot of my peers studying in the university or going abroad for higher education, while over here me, who is a scholar, is actually just working in the kitchen, despite having a passion to pursue that.
Yes, and that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That passion led you to that.
Exactly. So alhamdulillah, those 2 years that I, worked away, I ended up earning a scholarship in culinary.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up going to Jordan, Amman. So that's exactly where I actually got my culinary education from.
Amazing.
From Malikia Funun Tahi, which is Royal Academy of Culinary Arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when that opportunity came up to the door, even my parents were like, you know what, you go for it.
Wow. And so how long is this culinary education that you did in Amman?
That was for 2 years. And during that tenure of 2 years, I did my internship in Dubai and Abu Dhabi with the Fairmont Hotels. I, in fact, went to South America, to Chile, representing Middle East and my college as well for a culinary competition, which me and my partner, we won and absolutely bashed everyone.
Wow. You're just cruising through that. Tell us more about it. Like, what is this?
Like the competition?
What did you make?
Yeah.
What
was it?
Well, this
what
was like many years
dish?
ago. Oh my God. This was so many years ago. But I'll tell you one thing. People, like we were like the underdogs. Okay. And they didn't think that, these girls from, the Middle East, they're not going to be, jamming up and cooking, I don't know, the best salmon and all of that.
Wow.
But I do remember now very clearly that there was like a mystery box. So you have to take the mystery ingredients and basically make a 3-course, 4-course.
I mean, something in cooking shows like that.
Exactly.
Something we're familiar
now the
with,
only thing is it's not scripted.
Yeah.
Or, it's on camera. It's really live, and it was really fun. It was really good. I think it's one of my best.
So do you still remember what your ingredients were and what?
There was salmon, the Chilean salmon.
Yeah.
And then tomato and salmon were 2 things that we had to use, and
Okay.
it specifically had to be Chilean salmon because Chilean salmon has a different fat content as compared to maybe the one from another region of the world.
And then you went to Canada.
Yeah.
Or was there
did that
something else in
happen?
between?
No. So when I was doing my internship at the Fairmont in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I came across these amazing Canadian chefs who sort of mentored me into thinking that after I finished my culinary education, it's a good idea to explore either Europe or North America. And being, again, like not that I'm bragging about myself.
Oh, please go ahead.
This is the platform to brag about yourself.
Platform
Please
to
brag about
yes.
yourself.
But because I was so good at what I do, I was recommended to this place called Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise, which is in Alberta. And that's how I ended up traveling to Canada. And the idea was, to travel around, explore North America.
And surprisingly enough, I've met you
Yes.
the first time in
Yes,
Canada.
In Canada, yes, in Toronto.
In Toronto.
And the funny thing is, the way how I look back now is that had I at that point not chosen to travel and get out of my comfort zone, because a lot of times we have a mindset. I don't know if it's a mindset as a woman or as girls, but we're often accustomed to be within our comfort zone. And at that point, I feel if I hadn't gotten out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't have been where I am today.
Even as a unit, the family that you're talking about is a very close-knit family where I don't know if it's very comfortable to leave your parents and then go and live somewhere else and then just be alone,
Totally. And I think even before traveling out west, because I had already lived on my own in Jordan, Amman, that exposure sort of already happened. But still, that is still in the Middle East,
Initially, was that a challenge? Like, was there resistance to it from your family?
To travel?
Travel.
From my, I would say maybe resistance is not the right word. I think the right word would be protective.
Okay.
That's what I would say. And I think a lot of times, especially when you're choosing an unconventional career, and especially when you're sort of, again, coming up from, let's say, an environment where, you're pampered and all of that happens. So that definitely, there was a bit of a strong layer of protectiveness. But because I was excelling and I was getting better at what I was doing, I think everyone ended up for sure understanding what my, why I'm so passionate about this. And again, as I said, like my parents, specifically my mother, she's always backed my...
I met her. I had the opportunity to meet her
same.
a few weeks back, and I think, mashallah, she probably didn't say it, but it was calling out, that she is so proud of you.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. But I'm sure there are other things in between that we have missed.
Yeah, so House of Khaleej is my pop-up concept, which is obviously based out of Canada. I offer it in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia as well. So basically, again, the same thing. It can be a dining experience, it can be a meetup partnership, or it could be a pop-up as well. So the pop-up that you actually came to in Toronto, that was at the Union Station at the landmark location. And that was a collaboration with Ninja Appliances and House of Khaleej, and obviously, the entire space. To showcase street food style Khaleeji food.
Wow.
So my translation of a street food Khaleeji food is not just shawarma and falafel. It's a lot more. It reflects my childhood. It reflects that, eating a Bahraini chaat with mint chutney, with labne, with, So we call it mathai, but it's also called save. And chanachur, I think.
Yes.
So it's as I said, it's a combination of Indian, Pakistani, and Arabic, Middle Eastern, whatever, however you want to encapsulate it. That's what Khaleej is for me, and that
I think it's just a representation of a lot of people that live in Bahrain. The Desi families. It's just like a representation of their culture mixed together.
And it's very important to not just let's say represent that and not just accept it, because it is an integral part of the society as well.
To celebrate.
Exactly. Because there are so many families that either are third, fourth, fifth generation, Bahrainis, but integrated, where maybe the father is Bahraini Arab, the mom is Indian or Pakistani, and all of that. What I am trying to, I guess, through my craft, through my work, portray is that, you could be whoever you are, but you should not forget where you come from.
Your roots.
You should be proud of your roots.
It is.
And I have seen it throughout my, I would say, travels across the world. And it's a very simple thing. Doesn't matter if you're Arab or Indian or Pakistani. There is a sense of maybe, there is food in front of me, and then there is a hesitation or shyness to not eat with your hands. But, culturally, that's a very nice thing. Forget culturally, scientifically, when you eat with your hands, when you eat with your hands, the chemicals in your, your finger, they actually work out really well, and the enzymes break down the food particles and help you digest. So I feel like because of so much of modernity and all of, the other influence, we sometimes just forget where we come from.
No, I think there's a people compare it to etiquettes. But I totally understand what you're saying.
Or being civil.
I feel when I am eating, let's say, biryani, if I'm having with my spoon, I just don't enjoy it.
Exactly. Exactly, right? Or the way how, when you enter, for example, in our homes, when a guest comes, we serve them kahwa, we serve them the tamar dates. Or, that whole... Again, etiquettes can differ culture to culture. There's no right or wrong. But again, there shouldn't be any comparison as well, I feel.
Absolutely. And so when you traveled around the world, what kind of differences in culture did you see there? And what were some interesting things that you could make a comparison to and integrate?
Like as a culture shock?
No, okay, you can talk about that.
Talk about that.
Like for me, I think the biggest culture shock was that I have to get down and fill my gas for petrol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I think that's something that growing up over here, we saw that, okay, there is...
We have the luxury.
Yeah, we have the luxury.
And carry your groceries.
And
bring them home.
And other things, for example, the usage of plastic. So for example, either you're going to be charged for the amount of plastic you use, let alone now there's no plastic even available. It's more on, single use.
But I like that.
Which is quite good. And these are good things as well.
Yeah.
And, other aspects of life that, you're not depending on another human being or another person to do your daily tasks. I feel what also happens is that when we're too comfortable in our life, sometimes over here or in a routine, for basic things like washing dishes or, doing your laundry or doing your bed, which are basic life skills, at times that people take for granted. And when, let's say, you travel out somewhere else and where you maybe not have access to that, you start comparing and thinking that, oh, that is a great life or this is a great life. I think especially young people need to understand that regardless of having luxury or regardless of not having access to certain things, it's good to do your things.
But another thing that
cooking is an important skill that I feel a lot of people don't have.
But you know what? Another thing I understood while I was there for 2 months is that when you get into all the daily routine, I think your health gets so much better.
Yeah, you're active, right?
The first time I was there for 2 months, and the first time filled the dishwasher. When I went down, my back started hurting.
Oh my God.
And the last day, I remember, the last day I was there, I was doing the dishwasher, and I'm like, this doesn't pain anymore. So I was like, oh my God, how good was that?
Yeah.
So I think everything has its pros and cons.
Yeah,
Even
it
if
does.
you're here, I mean, of course, we love the Bahraini life.
Yeah.
And I cannot
the privilege.
the
alhamdulillah.
privilege.
And we truly should
we
be
are
blessed.
yes.
We should be grateful about
I,
it.
I am truly am. But then there are pros to being there as well. Now you live here and there, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little about that, because how do you manage your work? Like, for example, if you've left Canada for 4-5 months,
What happens?
do you leave work? How do you get back and reestablish yourself? What happens?
Sure. So obviously, I'm not a superwoman.
Yes,
yes.
please. I am a superwoman, and therefore I.
No, I think the way how I would explain is that I am surrounded by people who believe in my ambition and who support my cause. So, be it my team with House of Khaleej, or be it the team at Bar Mordecai, everyone is so well versed with how to run the show.
Right.
And the most important thing is partnership and collaboration. I think when you partner and collaborate with people who are like-minded, they don't take your presence or absence for granted, because there's this mutual trust also, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is to kind of let go of the mentality of micromanaging. So what I've understood is the more you let go in terms of micromanaging, the better you're able to scale yourself.
Yeah.
But you're only able to do that when you have your foundation strong, when you have the right people around you, or when you have people who believe in your vision. And
So not very many people I've come across who have this vision of yours, Suman. Mashallah, it looks like someone has molded all this information into you, in the understanding of marketing, the understanding of.
It's not just a passion of cooking.
Yeah.
It's a lot
It's
more.
a lot
where
more.
the background in marketing obviously does help a lot.
Yeah.
But I also think that you just are very savvy with it, because you're not just cooking. You're not just a chef. It's just a lot more. And I know that you want to do a lot in culinary education as well,
Yes.
especially in this part of the world.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
So obviously, something driving from my own personal history of lack of access of specific culinary education that I was seeking for. I think the way how I see it is that if there is a Suman out there who does not need to leave Bahrain and does not need to necessarily leave her home and pursue culinary education, she should be able to. I do see there are quite a few, coming up right now, and I do see that there is a nice culture where, people are seeing female chefs as role models and everything else. But there has to be a lot more legwork to be done. The other challenge, what I think is, especially with people who are entering the industry right now, they think that it's all glitz and glam. They all think, that everything that you see on social media with, all the pretty faces and, us showcasing the best edited food pictures and videos, or even restaurant food pictures and everything else. The reality is that when you're doing the legwork, there is 14-15 hours of time that has gone into it. There is you standing, let alone the time period, it's you literally functionally standing 10-12 hours in the kitchen working. Now, as you grow, so let's say, for example, if you're trying to create your own brand or work with more teams, sometimes you cannot have everything your way. Yeah. You also need to understand that, let's say, if the three of us are partnering for a concept, and I need to, for sure, understand that your point of view is also important, your point of view is also important, absolutely. And then agree to it in such a way that it is still going to reflect in the success of the business. And as I said, people have this perception that everything that you see on TV or social media is like the final product of it. No, there's a lot more hard work.
There's a lot of work that goes behind
it. We can see that for sure.
And you talked about something really important. You mentioned it, female chefs as role models, because the world of the culinary world, it's dominated by men. Yeah. And how was it breaking into that? What were the challenges
and the men
that you
working
faced?
Under
yes,
you.
the men. Tell us more about how you navigated that.
For sure, there has been time period, especially when I entered the industry, or I would say, especially maybe even until obviously, like now, it's been 2 to 3 years that I have grown into a level where I don't necessarily every day need to be in the kitchen. But my right hand and my left hand, my sous chefs are male chefs. However, for example, Bar Mordecai, it's majority women led, and my chef de cuisine at Bar Mordecai, she's a she. So now the thing is, to answer your question properly, it wasn't easy to, let's say, make your presence felt and grow into leadership roles. So a simple example would be is, if you're working in a kitchen space, it's 14 to 15 people, and maybe you're the only woman. I've actually spoken about this before also. So let's say, I was chopping something and I cut my finger. So now that I have cut my finger, it's bleeding. I can't make it too obvious. I have to hide it. Why would I do that? Because I'm showing and, I don't know, well, I wouldn't cry about it, but it's an injury. So a comment would be passed, oh, she's a girl, what did you expect?
Oh, wow.
Okay. Another challenging thing would be
what if a man cuts his finger? What would he do?
Nothing. I think a man, he would just, dip it or, suck his finger and that's it.
Okay.
I'm sure we would do the same.
No, because that's another thing. I think the way how sometimes our society is, we have programmed or meant to be too stern.
No, but so when, for example, women may not be chefs out there, but they're chefs at home.
Yeah.
And I keep, like, for example, whenever I'm cooking, I have always these burns of the pan. I'm always on the pan and burning myself here. So we are burning ourselves all the time, and I don't think that means that we don't know how to do it. It's just,
but that's the perception they think.
Exactly.
Like that.
Not everyone thinks like you or like me, right? There used to be, well, now it's shifting in the industry as well. But there used to be this notion that, showcasing your femininity in the kitchen would be taken as a negative thing. So, being all hard, stern and, boss, yeah, bro, that's the kind of person even I was. And I feel in the last...
Even leading, like you have to lead people like a man.
Yeah, you have to lead them
like a man. Do you lead like a man?
Do you?
Now, not anymore.
Yeah.
I think...
I don't see her doing that.
No, not anymore. But yes, I have in the past.
Yeah.
I have been one of those people where, in jeans and shorts and like, as I said, yeah, bro, yeah, let's do it. So, again, I probably didn't have to do it. But because I was in certain positions leading men, you sort of have to put your femininity at the back burner and get things done. I guess that's the hard lesson I would say I had to learn through. But today it's a whole different story, and it's also a very different world that I am now a chef in, because today anyone who's a 17, 18, 19 years old person entering the industry, there is a very sound and aware knowledge about work-life balance as well. Back when I started off, what is work-life balance? No, you have to spend 14, 18 hours, working throughout.
But this probably isn't very far back, right? You're young, so I'm sure. And I think you've achieved in a very small... Mashallah.
So alhamdulillah, if I track back, it's been 14, 15 years that I've, been in the industry. And obviously I started off very young. I was still 17-ish.
Yes.
I did want to mention one thing, that's actually a really good example. So let's say, for instance, if I work a shift and that shift is a night shift, or if it's a late night shift, which is also called a graveyard shift. So, a lot of times in-room dining have that, where, you order food at midnight or 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So let's say, for example, if I'm a girl, I may not be able to do that shift because now I'm too concerned about my safety to go back home. But if
That's
I was
fair enough.
Yeah, but if I was a guy, I don't have to worry about that. So, exactly. These are the challenges, and sometimes we don't talk about this, but these are factors.
Is this a thing that would maybe hinder your progress or your
promotion?
Yes. Or your,
Exactly, and it has happened so many times. I've seen it happen to a lot of my peers where, they were not able to, let's say, work a certain shift and, they were not promoted because they did not have an experience in that.
But did you make an effort to do those shifts more than others?
I did it all.
You did it all.
Yeah, I did it all. And I think, obviously that came with a lot of sacrifices. Yeah. That came with a lot of trajectory of, not being able to do certain other things. Yeah. A really simple example would be is my industry is the busiest and the most amount of money we make is during holidays or during New Year's or during, Eid, Christmas, Diwali and all of that. So that meant I am missing out on family time.
Yes.
Another example would be is, let's say, a lot of birthday celebrations or weddings happen on weekends. Yeah. So it also meant that I'm working with my team.
So you're essentially sacrificing a lot in your personal life. Would you look at it as a sacrifice, though, or as something that you might regret in the future?
I don't think of it as a regret. As I said, like I think if I hadn't sacrificed on those things, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
But now that I'm able to, balance things, I prioritize these things more,
Right.
which is also a privilege. I'm able to. I know
Yeah.
so many chefs who are not able to. Again, like.
But it's a great philosophy because
Yeah.
you did the hard work, the brunt
Yeah.
when you were young.
Yes.
And now you're in a place where you
I'm
can
still
have
young.
that. No, when you're really young, of course you are. But now you have that privilege and that leadership role where you can have that flexibility.
But trust me, that sort of stuff even happens now. Like an example would be is I had to be at a place for an XYZ media event or maybe a cooking show or maybe an XYZ. But the next day I need to attend my best friend's wedding. So I still have to, cutthroat. You're almost like cutthroat with time. But again, it's much better than what it used to be.
Yeah, it's not a regular 9 to 5, right? It's just that it's
So I
more
have a
demanding.
question.
That's what it's called. Not 9 to 5.
Not
Not
9
9
to
to 5 industry
24/7.
has. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question. You know how they say कि जो दिल से खाना बनाता है प्यार डाल के you put your love into it and that's the most tasty food.
Yeah.
I want to understand that. Because I try in my head, I try to cook with love, but where am I going wrong? So what is this concept about?
Why do you think you're going wrong?
No, well, let's not get into that. But how what is that thing? How is it different from? Obviously, you're a professional chef.
Yeah.
So I know that there's love for your work and there's passion for your love, but you're not. Are you putting that mohabbat in every item you're
But
making?
there's science behind food in
I
cooking,
want
right?
to understand this concept of putting love into food.
I think science behind food.
Yes, I want to understand.
Science for sure. To back anything in this world, science for sure. But do you understand the concept of energy?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
Right? So let's say, you walked into a room with a lot of positive energy, you're sort of like transcending it, right?
Yeah.
Same way when someone walks into the room and, they sort of send that negative energy, you feel it instantly that, oh, okay, I don't like this person. I don't like
That's
that
very
person.
interesting.
So now if you take that concept and I would say transcribe it into, let's say for instance, you had a really bad day or, it's like everything is going down the hill and it's not the best thing. And you still had to, probably cook for your husband,
or even you as
a chef,
you have to show up anyways.
Yeah.
I don't have to show up. I
Yes.
can order
You can
something
order.
or
Yes.
get someone to cook
Yes.
it. But you have to show up even if you're having a bad day.
Yes.
So how does that
So
translate
you have
into
to put
food?
it behind.
Yeah.
So when you show up to work or when you're professionally cooking, you have to put all of your emotions and everything at the back and just, show that respect to your craft. That's the best way to put it.
Is that easy to do?
It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy if you have had bad and tough days or, a challenging period in your life. But the moment you realize why you're doing what you're doing is what makes it easy. And that's the reason why, especially being a chef is one of those careers I would suggest. If you don't enjoy it, if you think, oh my God, like I'm just going to mix things and, create.
And there's a lot of physical work into it as
There
well.
is even the way how you chop onions, even the way how, let's say for instance, you sear a fish, or let's say even the way at the end how you serve someone, there has to be love in it.
Yeah.
Etiquette is one thing, but there has to be that personal feeling where you feel happy about doing that task. The moment you think of it just as a task, you're not going to enjoy it.
I think because most of us in our homes, because you have to cook every day, and there has to be bachcho ko ye chahiye and husband ko ye chahiye, something. So I think most of us end up, not always, but most of the time, you're like, it's a task.
Yes, it becomes very tedious, right?
It becomes
because
tedious.
now you're doing it out
And not everyone is going to just pour their love into it every day. I pour my love into a few things.
Yeah.
But it's not
important-
something I
it's
can.
important
That's why I'm
to
not
know.
a professional chef, I guess.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm pretty sure, if you ask your kids, and that's something that I always am able to relate with also. Like, my mom, she used to cook more often before. But now, whenever I'm visiting her at home, there are certain dishes of her that I ask her to cook. And when I sit back and think, I always think that, no, these were dishes that she did not cook every day. I think these were dishes when she was the happiest and she probably cooked.
And maybe
then
that's why you loved it
and
so
that's the
much.
reason why I like it.
Yeah. Just
You
made
know,
you feel
and
good.
that is how...
And they're simple things.
And that is how it is. Like, I make one or two things which I make once in a way with pure intention of making it special for my children. And that's the one they enjoy the most.
Yes.
So it's love.
But
it's
energy
in it.
Energy is the right word.
I think we're hungry.
I remember. I've been trying to say this for a long time. It reminds me of this movie with it was Sarah Michelle Gellar, where she was a chef and she's cooking, and when she's crying she cooks something, and then everybody starts crying. It's so true, actually. You know, the energy you're putting into your food. It was the movie with the crab.
So with Ramadan coming, do you have anything in place? You're here for a few more months.
Yes.
What's happening?
So obviously, like, there is quite a bit of more content that I'm sharing very soon for Ramadan. There's special stuff. I can't say the names yet because we want to keep it as a surprise. So inshallah, that's there. There are a few pop-ups that are lined up. And, you know, when the time is right, everyone's going to know about it.
Perfect.
But more than anything, I think this is exactly what it comes to. I'm taking the time to spend quality time with my family.
I also want to know, you're also an angel investor, right? And so what is the thinking behind that? Like, what is your intention when you are looking into investment, for example?
So obviously the main motivation is to back ideas and visions where there is advocacy for women. All right. Obviously, my area of expertise is culinary, hospitality, and tourism. However, industry expertise is one thing, but there are other tools in life you also need to pursue to be able to accept. So an example would be marketing. An example would be networking. An example would also be, regardless of whatever industry you're in right now, to be apt in AI technology.
Yeah.
So I think if I had to answer that very truthfully, for me, when I see that there is purpose and there is vision to accelerate career growth for women, you would see me over there.
Okay.
Because the way how I see it, maybe someone did not support me. I am in a place where I am able to, and this is my way of giving back.
You're truly very unique, Suman.
Yeah,
I keep saying that at this, because I'm not saying that, like, we've had guests here who are your age.
Yeah.
But honestly, to have this vision at this age, trust me when I say that.
Vision, but also focus,
vision, leadership.
I think what you have is clarity of exactly what I want to do, and I think that makes a huge difference to where you're going, because you're like, that's what I want exactly.
Alhamdulillah.
You know, alhamdulillah.
I
so
think
that's a great asset and a great skill.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Thank you for that's very kind.
So I know Ramadan is coming. We always do this little bit about having something of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what is your favorite Pakistani food?
Yes. First,
what is my favorite Pakistani food? So I do like nihari. Okay. I think because I think for a very long period of time, even now sometimes I confuse nihari with salan.
No.
Or nihari and paya. Nihari and paya, that's the correct one. I've often, like, for a very long period of time, confused nihari with paya, but they're very different. And I think nihari would definitely be my favorite dish, especially with kamachi and khubuz. You know, you douse it in. And this is the perfect weather to have one.
Okay.
You know, with lemon juice and ginger scraps.
Stop.
Everyone listening.
But also, what is your favorite dish that you make? We'd love to know your favorite.
For myself?
What is the best?
What is the best? You develop recipes as well, right? What is your favorite recipe that you've developed?
My favorite recipe that I've developed would actually be, it's called labne badinjan. It's actually my favorite dish. I like to eat it all the time.
Have you named it as well?
Yeah, it's called labne badinjan, and it's either served with keema or mafrough, which is basically keema, like you know, like sautéed beef or mince.
Yeah.
So in Arabic it's called mafrough, and in Urdu or Hindi it's called keema. So the way how you make this is you need to have good quality labne, which is hung yogurt, and then you need to have charcoal roasted eggplants.
Okay, wow.
Which is?
Roasted eggplant.
Eggplants, which is bengan.
I know that.
Brinjal, yeah. So you need to charcoal roast it, not on the gas, not on oven and everything, like actually charcoal, because it gives a nice smoky flavor. You peel off, the charcoaly black crust out of it. Now you take the labne and the eggplant and mash it together. Add some pomegranate molasses, a little bit of garlic, salt, pepper, smear it at the bottom, and then now eat it with keema.
Hi.
Yeah.
That sounds. And how did you develop this?
Because I like labne and I like eggplant.
So you just mixed it.
And it's actually one of those dishes that when I was a student, it was the easiest to buy and make.
That was easiest.
But
Like charcoal.
where were you grilling it?
I was not charcoaling it. I was actually doing it on like the gas.
Okay.
But because I liked eating full meals. So a lot of, again, that's another thing. Even as chefs, students.
I'm going to take that recipe and I'm going to try it.
I should probably share it as well.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
As a chef, even as chef students, there is usually this, this lifestyle cycle where you're still eating burgers and, all of that.
Yeah.
I've always been that person that I would still cook gourmet food. So, Labne Badinjan came out of necessity.
Yeah. So, Suman, what advice would you like to give to any woman who's entering a more male-dominated field? Since you've done it, what is one piece of advice or more that you would like to tell?
Well, I think the first and foremost thing, what I would say is know beforehand and do your homework. Because when you do your homework, in terms of research about what industry you're getting in, what challenges could come, that just helps streamline your mindset. And probably, again, it totally depends what industry you're getting in. But first and foremost, do your homework. Try finding women who are already in that field and try, getting mentorship. Again, a very difficult thing sometimes depending on what kind of industry you're in, but try your best finding mentorship. Let's say, for example, for any reason you're not able to find female mentors, still find mentors who are credible sources. Again, if you're a young person who's entering the industry, you may not even know how to differentiate. So the most important thing, I guess, would also be is that go with your gut feeling, go with your instinct. The way how I see it is when you do something out of zero expectations, then you are sort of leaving a path for zero disappointment also.
True.
And then great success.
And great success. If you're going to expect too much out of anyone, like even if I find a mentor, why is a mentor going to go above and beyond if I don't care about it? Or if I don't mean, like if I'm not passionate enough?
Yeah.
So it's you, end of the day, who has to really, desire and, feel for it.
Yeah.
Golden words.
Yeah, golden words. I think mentorship is so important, right?
Yeah.
Especially in fields where you don't see a lot of people like you.
Yeah.
If you find
I think
one person
yeah.
who's done it and you
I
can
think
just...
all of us,
Yeah.
me and Sabah keep talking about our mentors.
Yeah.
You know how they have shaped us actually. And of course those mentors also include our parents who must have done something to us, but primarily someone from our field. I can go back and talk about my mentor, but
I think
so
the main thing
important.
is they just shortcut your path to success so much because you can learn something in months with a mentor that might take you years to learn on your own. So
But
I think that's such a valuable thing.
But there's also a little bit of a drawback around it, right? Because not everyone is willing to offer mentorship.
True.
People, I feel, sometimes want to keep things to themselves.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah. What I would say for people who gatekeep is that there's only so much you can take to your grave.
True.
और वो risk जो है ना, for example,
there's no barakah in it.
there's no barakah in it, and I also say that honestly, there's enough for everyone.
And pass it on. I feel like if you have knowledge about something and you come across someone who needs that knowledge, give it to them. Like,
Because we've seen
on.
that if there's something that I'm holding on to but I've given it to somebody, something else comes from
it. Something bigger and better.
Exactly. So you need to sort of let your heart be more open in terms of passing that legacy and for people to remember you in that best possible manner. But again, the word is gatekeeping, and I feel like there's a lot of shortcomings around it. And oftentimes, maybe out of the thought process of competition or thinking that, oh, it's my unique idea, why should I be, sharing it with someone else? So even that, I feel sometimes you probably need to have a certain type of maturity to let go and think that,
and be open to, as you said, collaborations, partnerships.
Exactly. And even with collaboration also, I feel like collaboration is like the most overused word of 2024 and probably even now 2025. But even with collaboration, so let's say, for example, if I am eager to work with you, it's not necessary you're going to be. But again, you need to sort of find that like-minded people and sometimes understand that maybe revenue is not the outcome that you will get, but you will definitely get the sisterhood. Maybe you will...
The connection.
Connection. or probably just good positive representation.
Yeah, or just good positive energy. Sometimes
Exactly.
that's what makes a difference, you know. Sometimes when you're just stuck somewhere, somebody's just around you who's just looking out for you. And I think even in mentorship, even though you're mentoring someone, you are getting back a lot in return. Even learning from your mentee a lot of the times, you know, because they're young, they have a fresh perspective on your industry, especially if it's a very legacy based industry. They can really, you know, teach you things as well. So
I think someone asked me this the other day. How do I know someone is a good mentor? It goes both ways. If you're not ready to mentor someone, you're not gonna find your mentee, and vice versa. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you,
has been
Suma.
absolutely amazing. We were already
was a dream
we were already
until I-
impressed, and now we're beyond that.
Yeah,
But
we'd love to chat more with you, and I'm sure there's
yes.
a lot of things we
Inshallah,
haven't even
there's so
touched.
much
there's
more
so much
ahead.
we
Yes.
collaborate on.
Yeah, yeah. No,
No,
but
we
there's
will
a
not
lot.
use
I
that
feel we
word.
still don't know a few of like your awards history and pata nahi kya kya kiya hua hai, you know.
Mashallah.
So mashallah.
No, and I really think, sorry to cut you off, but honestly, I think this whole, I don't want to call it a project anymore. I would like to say this whole momentum of Kissa that you guys have started, it goes more than just a podcast. It's again representation.
Yeah.
It's about being seen, and it's multilingual again, like, bilingual, multilingual. So you're tapping into different audiences, and, we're just proud of who we are.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you
That
so
means
much. That does mean
Thank
so
you,
much.
Suman.
Thank you, Suman. It was lovely having you.
Lovely having you.
And hope we can continue to do something together.
Yes, we will.
Thank you everyone for watching Kissa Season 2. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube with the Kissa handle Kissa_.
See you soon.
See you soon. Khuda Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.